Hi everyone. Today we're going to review another tragic case with you. Please support the channel by clicking subscribe and hitting the bell. According to statistics, the number of crimes committed by juveniles has been increasing worldwide. In recent years, there has been an upsurge in violence among school children, usually directed at their peers. The victims of these attacks are often hospitalized, disabled, or even killed. Such hostile acts typically have one goal: to assert their own superiority, power, and permissiveness. Many countries' laws are lenient towards juvenile offenders, which gives these young criminals a sense of impunity. Today's story about a French girl named Agnès Morin, who tragically lost her life at the hands of a high school student, shocked the entire country. Agnès studied in a prestigious school with an impeccable reputation, a place where it seemed an incident like this could never happen. But as it turned out, the perpetrator had attacked other girls before, and his wealthy parents managed to not only keep those incidents quiet but also arranged for him to transfer to a new school in another city, hiding the truth of his past actions. It is often said that teenage aggression is a form of protest during a period of personality formation and self-discovery. However, in our story today, this boy's cruelty was the result of a complete lack of empathy, an inability to empathize or sympathize with others. He was extremely dangerous to society and irredeemable, making him the second teenager in French history to be sentenced to life imprisonment. Who was Agnès Morin? Agnès Morin was born on November 26, 1999 in Paris, and was the only child of Paula and Frédéric Morin. She grew up in a well-off family, where her parents adored her and sought to give her the best life possible. From a young age, Agnès didn't know what it was like to be refused anything. She was dressed in brand-name clothes, taken to the seaside, and provided with expensive toys and gadgets. Agnès was an active, sociable, and restless child. She always had many friends and hobbies. She showed a lot of creativity, loved music and movies, and dreamed of becoming a film director one day. In school, she did well, and her teachers praised her intelligence. However, her laziness and inattention often prevented her from achieving her full potential. At 13, Agnès fell in with a bad crowd, which negatively affected her academic performance and behavior. She started smoking, drinking alcohol, and skipping school. Her parents were not fans of harsh disciplinary measures but tried several times to talk to their daughter. Unfortunately, these conversations led nowhere. Agnès promised to change and cut ties with her bad company, but she lied. One day, after being caught smoking and drinking beer on school grounds, the issue of her expulsion was raised. Her parents realized that if Agnès stayed in Paris, she would continue socializing with the wrong people, and nothing would improve. So they made the decision to transfer her not just to another school, but to one far away from the capital's temptations. After reviewing several options, the Morins chose a closed private college in Lambersart, a commune in the Upper Layer region of Ovia. This prestigious institution had a long history, dating back to the 1930s, and operated as a boarding school where students not only studied but lived. By the late 2000s, however, the college was facing serious financial issues and was near bankruptcy. The local community, with a population of only 2,500 people, was seeing an increasing number of young people leaving to study in the capital or larger cities. As a result, the college faced a shortage of students and consequently a financial crisis. In 2011, the situation took a dramatic turn. In order to avoid bankruptcy, the school lowered its admission standards. Although previously only students with high grades and good recommendations could be accepted, the school was now willing to take children from wealthy families, even if their academic records weren't perfect. Despite her behavioral problems, Agnès' strong academic performance and good grade point average allowed her to gain admission to the school, into Sable College, and the authorities simply turned a blind eye to her behavior. Agnès' parents were hopeful that the change would be good for their daughter, believing that she would become more responsible and easily overcome this challenging, transitional age. Agnès was a very sociable, cheerful, and friendly girl, and she quickly adapted to the new environment. She fit into the new team from day one, made friends easily, and even showed good progress in her studies, including in new disciplines that weren't available at her previous school in Paris. Her parents visited her every 2 or 3 weeks, pleased with her successes and the positive changes in her behavior. Inez only came home to visit once during her studies. The new school, located on a vast campus surrounded by forests, had no clear boundaries or fences and lacked strict security, as the crime rate in the area was considered one of the lowest in the country. It was only a 15-minute walk from the college to the center of Lambersart. Students often went there in groups after school, but they were required to return by 5 p.m. Disciplinary penalties were enforced for breaking the rules. The disappearance on November 16, 2011, Inez and some of her classmates decided to take a walk into town after classes. There she met Estelle, a friend from another school. The two girls often crossed paths and regularly stayed in touch. They decided to go shopping together and fell behind the rest of the group. A couple of hours later, the group returned to campus, but Inez was not with them. At first, no one was overly concerned as they assumed she would return soon. However, as time passed and it began to get dark, her absence started to worry teachers. Her phone was switched off, and she could not be found anywhere on campus. The school management wasted no time reporting the incident to the police. The search began that evening, conducted by law enforcement, teachers, and students. They were divided into groups, each searching a different area, but no trace of Inez was found. No one had seen her, and no one knew where she might be. Hope remained that she would return alive and unharmed, but as the night went on, the situation became more serious. Inez's parents were notified almost immediately. They were shocked and rushed to Lambersart as quickly as they could. They assured the authorities that Inez wouldn't have run away. She had no reason to and nowhere to go. Her parents stated that their daughter loved her new school, had made many friends, and had no conflicts with anyone. They believed she was happy and well-adjusted. Frederick and Paula Moran became actively involved in the search. They talked to their daughter's friends, posted her pictures all over the town, and asked for help in finding her. They were desperate to find any clue that might lead to Inez. What is Estelle hiding? The first step the police took was to track down the last people who had seen Inez and who might have known about her plans. Her classmates revealed that Inez had met a friend, Estelle, in town and had gone shopping with her. However, no one knew Estelle's last name or had any additional information. It didn't take long for the police to track down Estelle, who turned out to be the last person Inez had been in contact with. She was considered a key witness in the case, but her first interview didn't provide any useful information. Estelle claimed that Inez had helped her pick out a birthday present for her father. They had shared a milkshake and then said their goodbyes. Estelle then went home, while Inez was supposed to return to campus. Although Estelle's story sounded plausible, something seemed off. She was nervous, and it was clear that she was holding something back. The police decided to interview her again, and that's when Estelle's story began to change. She revealed that Inez had planned to meet a young man that day, someone she hadn't told Estelle's name. She claimed that it wasn't supposed to be a date, but that they were going to do something bad, possibly involving illegal substances. A couple of hours later, Estelle tried calling Inez, but she didn't answer. By evening, Inez's phone was turned off. Estelle admitted that she had lied in the first interview because Inez had specifically asked her not to tell anyone about the meeting with the mysterious man. Estelle had promised to keep it a secret. However, when news of Inez's disappearance broke, Estelle felt compelled to reveal everything. She suspected that Inez's sudden absence could be connected to the young man she had mentioned. It was speculated that Inez might have simply run away from the school, possibly having fallen in love and now spending time with her secret boyfriend. Her phone had last been active on campus the day she went missing, but afterward it was switched off and the location was untraceable. Despite the challenges, the police were able to access all of Inez's call and message history. It was then that the name of a 17-year-old student, Matt Moulas, from the same school came to light. Moulas became the primary suspect. It turned out that Inez had been in contact with him over the past few days. The authorities couldn't immediately understand what might connect the two, but they knew that Matt needed to be questioned, as he could hold key information. Although their communications didn't seem alarming, It was discovered that they had planned to meet on campus on the day Ines went missing. Matt had promised to show her something, though he hadn't been specific about what. On November 17th, Matt was brought in for questioning. He remained calm throughout the interview, but the investigators noticed fresh scratches on his face and hands. When asked about them, Matt admitted to using illegal substances and explained that the previous day he had overindulged, causing him to lose consciousness and fall into a thorny bush where he stayed for several hours. Classmates and faculty confirmed that Matt had been a problematic student. He had been admitted to Saval College in January 2011 after his parents transferred him there in hopes of shielding him from bad influences. However, even at this new school, Matt continued to drink and use illicit substances, leading to discussions of his potential expulsion. Despite his behavior, some still felt sympathy for him and allowed him time to improve. Matt had all the traits of a rebellious, troubled teenager. His appearance and actions seemed to challenge authority. He dressed in Gothic-style clothing, smoked, and drank hot beverages on campus. He often boasted about his rebellious behavior to peers, claiming that he wouldn't face consequences for his actions. On the day Ines disappeared, Matt was unaccounted for several hours. Later in the evening, he emerged from the woods in disheveled clothes, with fresh scratches, and explained that he had drunk too much and passed out. This account struck the investigators as suspicious, but without solid evidence, they decided to dig deeper into Matt's background. Matt Mulias was the spoiled son of wealthy parents, born in December 1993 in the municipality of Nesolor in Garda. He was the eldest of 3 children, growing up in a privileged household where his every desire was met without hesitation. From a young age, Matt exhibited troubling behavior. He was aggressive, quick-tempered, and had difficulty getting along with others. As he entered adolescence, his behavior worsened. He became prone to violent outbursts, frequently started fights, drank alcohol regularly, and experimented with various drugs. Despite his antisocial tendencies, Matt had an attractive appearance which made him popular with the opposite sex. At the time of these events, he had a girlfriend, whom his parents knew about, and he would visit her on weekends. Matt's history with the law was also concerning. He had been involved in stealing prescription drugs from a pharmacy with a friend, an incident that was swept under the rug, likely due to his parents' influence. His parents also helped him gain entry into a prestigious private school, despite his poor academic record and criminal background, by offering financial support when the school was in financial trouble. During his interrogation, Matt acted arrogantly, maintaining a defiant posture. But despite his calm exterior, his behavior raised doubts about his involvement in Ines's disappearance. He was seen nervously playing with a yo-yo, a toy he carried with him everywhere. At first, Matt denied knowing Ines, but when presented with proof of their correspondence, his story began to unravel. He attempted to fabricate a new version of events but quickly became confused, revealing inconsistencies in his statements. Words according to the guy, he promised to show Ines a clearing in the forest where mushrooms grow. Allegedly, they used them together, and after Mata became ill, and he fell into a thorny bush where he lay until the evening, and when he woke up, he saw that Moran was not. He didn't go looking for her but just went back to the campus because it was getting dark. A lawyer hired by the parent of the mullahs was present at all the interrogations and recommended that his young ward show the place, where he had last seen Ines, and where they, according to him, used mushrooms. However, Matto said that he would not be able to find that clearing because they stumbled on it by accident and he got out of there on autopilot, not really understanding where he is and what is happening around. But Matt's words were soon refuted by experts who found no traces of mushroom ingestion in his blood. Moreover, the scratches on his body were recognized as a consequence of a struggle, that is, someone scratched him with nails, and apparently it was a girl. A gruesome discovery in the thicket. The students of the school who had seen Matt coming out of the woods that evening pointed out the direction from which he had appeared, and it was in that part of the woods that it was decided to make a large-scale thorough search at that time. There was still a faint hope of finding Marin alive, but on November 18th, searchers awaited a terrible discovery in a small clearing hidden in a dense thicket. was found badly mutilated and partially charred body of the missing Agnes. Her clothes were torn. Her underwear was missing. There were all the signs of violence as well as traces of penetrating stab wounds. Doubt that this heinous crime committed by Mullis no one had no doubt, but it was necessary to wait for the conclusion of forensic experts as well as to obtain confessions from the killer himself. Actually, when Mata was told about the terrible discovery, he did not particularly repudiate, and began to testify, telling how everything was confessions of a ruthless killer. The strangler confessed that he deliberately lured Ains into the woods to abuse her, but allegedly did not plan to kill her. However, she put up fierce resistance, scratched him so he had to tie up the victim using the rope from his favorite toy U, which he carried with him everywhere. Ages screamed and threatened to turn him into the police, which pissed the guy off going to prison. He did not want to and therefore decided to kill the unfortunate and get rid of the body. Mata brutally beat Anas, breaking her arm, nose, several ribs, and shin, and then gave her 17 stab wounds, most of which came to the neck, face, and chest. When the victim stopped showing signs of life, he doused her with a flammable mixture from a canister and set her on fire, hoping that the fire would completely destroy the body. Then he quickly left because it started to get dark and he did not see that the fire was soon extinguished. He took his toy off the dead body and took it with him. The high school student told about the incident calmly and in detail, as if savoring every word and watching the reaction of the detectives. He felt no remorse or pity for the victim. The examination confirmed that under the fingernails of Agnes were particles of skin and epithelium mat, and in her body revealed traces of biological fluid of the rapist. Also on the rope of the very toy yo-yo, found sweat traces of both the perpetrator and the victim. After all the necessary studies and medical conclusions, Anne's body was given to her parents, who buried their only daughter in Paris. It is noteworthy that the funeral took place on November 26, 2011, on her birthday, the first victim of a young psychopath, when law enforcers thoroughly took up the biography of Mullis. They were shocked by the fact that Marin was not his first victim, but this information was carefully tried to hide. As it turned out, he had been cruel to others since childhood, bullying animals, other children, and even his own sisters. He always took an incomparable pleasure in hurting others and watching them suffer. In August 2010, Mata attacked his young neighbor, Julia, with whom he knew since childhood. The girl showed interest in the handsome neighbor, and he decided to take advantage of it. The guy lured her into the woods, where he hit her on the head, and while the victim was disoriented, tied her up with scotch tape taken from the house, and then abused the unfortunate Mullis, then began to strangle her and probably would have killed her. But suddenly her cell phone rang. The perpetrator recoiled, looked around, and simply left the scene. A terrified Julia, she managed to free herself and immediately contacted her parents, who promptly reported the incident to the police. Matteo was arrested that same day. During questioning, he broke down in tears, attempting to win over the police, and also tried to deflect the blame onto the victim, claiming she had provoked him by teasing and suggesting intimacy. However, the authorities quickly realized that he had premeditated the crime, bringing duct tape with him to restrain her. Despite the severity of the offense, Mata did not face harsh punishment. The court took into consideration his young age and decided against sending him to prison. Instead, he was ordered to undergo compulsory treatment at a psychiatric clinic, where he spent only 4 months. Throughout this period, psychologists and psychiatrists worked with him, assessing his condition. In December 2010, the leading specialist responsible for his case concluded that Mata had been fully rehabilitated and no longer posed a threat to others. After reading this report, the court decided to release the offender, requiring him only to attend several anger management sessions and undergo parental supervision. It is worth mentioning that Mata's parents were deeply involved in securing his release. They promised the judge that their son would leave the region and refrain from causing further trouble, and assured that they would ensure he continued therapy. They hired top-tier lawyers who did everything within their power to keep Mata out of jail. After his release, his parents began searching for a new school for him. However, due to his serious criminal record, no institution was willing to accept him. In response, his father, Dominic, personally visited the closed provincial college, Saval, and arranged a meeting with the director. Knowing the school's financial struggles, Dominic offered to sponsor the institution. When it came time to discuss Mata's admission, the director expressed concern about his low academic performance and the negative impact his criminal case could have on the school's reputation. Nevertheless, Dominic defended his son, claiming there was no violence involved and that the ex-girlfriend had fabricated the story out of revenge after their breakup. This, according to him, was the reason for the charges and Mata's subsequent release. Surprisingly, the school administration did not investigate the details of the trial and accepted Dominic's version of events. It seems the promise of sponsorship played a crucial role, and the school turned a blind eye to the crime, keeping this information from other students and their families. Mata's trial and verdict came shortly after. He had taken Agnes's life just 1 month before his 18th birthday. However, since he was still a minor at the time of the violent crime, the law stipulated a lighter sentence for such offenders. As a result, the trial was held behind closed doors. Agnes's parents fought to have the trial sessions made public, even requesting the involvement of journalists to cover the case in the media. However, their request was denied, and the proceedings were conducted privately. The trial officially began on June 18, 2013. The public prosecutor sharply criticized several flaws in Mata's case, particularly the fact that the psychiatrist, who declared Mata not to be a threat, was an inexperienced young woman without proper qualifications to assess criminals. This was seen as a serious error in the case. Mata underwent a second psychiatric evaluation, and experts concluded that not only was he unrepentant, but he also had the potential to commit similar crimes again if given the chance. Mata himself confirmed this, stating that he found pleasure in watching his victims suffer. Mata was diagnosed with schizoid and paranoid disorders which, combined with his violent outbursts, made him a severe danger to others. However, he was fully aware of his actions and could be held accountable for them under the law. The prosecutor insisted that Mata be tried as an adult due to the brutality of the crime, and this request was ultimately granted. On June 28, 2013, Mata was found guilty of abuse and murder with exceptional cruelty. He was sentenced to life imprisonment and mandatory psychotherapy, becoming the second juvenile offender in French history to receive such a harsh punishment. Mata's legal team chose to appeal the sentence, but on October 10, 2014, an appeals jury upheld the life sentence, ending any hopes of a reduced sentence. In 2016, Mata's parents published a book recounting their painful experience and admitted that their son remained unrepentant.